Hey, it went live this time. That's cool. I was trying to just about a minute and a half ago, and it would never actually connect. So I'm glad to be here now. Welcome to the studio above the clouds with Serendipity Sellers. It is Making Mondays, and officially the first Making Monday live broadcast. I'll do these every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I guess I should say. So 11 a.m. Eastern. And the idea is just that we're going to make something, do them on Mondays and on Fridays, essentially. I will try to maintain engagement and talk on a subject of some sort on Mondays. I say try because who knows once I actually get into making if that will continue. We'll see. Sometimes it's very easy to just zone out. But this is the first Making Monday, and today I'm going to be working on some clay. So I've got some clay laid out here. I'm going to make some mini monsters, and that's actually one of the workshops that's coming up. So we'll have making mini monsters. I think that's in September. I should know the date, but it's on my website, serendipitysellers.com. And you can go to the classes and events at the studio and check out what's going on. But I'm going to do some mini monsters. I've got a couple on the shelf already. Plus, I want to get ready for a Halloween themed event that's coming up soon. And some mini monsters would be nice to have so that folks can get them for their yard and decoration and whatnot. So that's what we'll work on today. But I will give you a quick look. So what I had been working on, and I just put the final touches on, in fact, he's still drying, is the most recent of the tarot cards from the Storykeeper's Daughter. This is the Hanged Man, which is Roland. And it's still dry, so it's still actually got some wet. It's going to look a little different whenever it's totally dry because some of the thick white won't be there. But that's the Hanged Man card. And of course, that's part of the larger selection that I've been doing, inspired by the book. And I've got things like the moon, and then I've got the star and death over here as well. And then the one that's left to work on that I'll probably work on Friday is the sun. And that's probably what I'll finish up. But today, we'll pop you down so that you're looking at the table here. And then I'm going to make some mini monsters. And you can kind of see what that looks like as I finish up. And as I said, there'll be some workshops on this. Here we go. Let me go ahead and pop you down. Oh, one warning. The dogs are up here with me today. They just wanted to come up, and I was not one to be like, no, don't come up here. So I've got dogs, which means it's possible at any point that there could be barking. Ladybug was definitely into the barking a couple moments ago. She was at the door. I think a cat wanted in, and then it gave up. But there was definitely some barking happening. So just warning, if you should be listening to this, there is always the possibility of dog barking today. All right. First things first, rolling it out. Oh, speaking of dog barking, there she goes. She's already winding herself back up again. I didn't put my little weights in the corner of this. I just used an old pillowcase here. So all we're trying to do right now is get a flat piece, and I don't have like a professional roller at this point because they're expensive, man. They're quite expensive. They would, I'm sure, save me a lot of time and energy. And this is definitely a piece of the process that I, depending on a person's strength, this is a piece of the process that I often help with in classes, just making sure things are rolled out really nicely. But this is just part of getting it done. Let me pull this back. So I promised that some of these days we'd at least start with kind of a central question. Hadn't really thought of a one other than kind of what's in. I mean, there's always questions, but what's in the description for this. And I do think an interesting thing to talk about is why do we create? I mean, what's even the reason that human beings feel the need? I would argue it is a definite need to make things. Um, and I'd say it was definitely one of our evolutionary advantages, you know, that we are creative, that we can look at one thing and come up with other uses for it. And we know that's not only humans, because there are birds and apes, monkeys, actually lots of other animals as well. So that's just like a small selection. But that, we talk about tool use being a human indicator, but there are lots of animals that use tools. Um, and I do think that there's a real creativity to that, because what you're doing is looking at something like a stick and going, oh, I can use that stick to get down in this tree stump so that I can get more of the ants out that I want to eat, or the honey, or the whatever. That's just one example. And that, creativity in so many ways is problem solving. It's, how do I get that from this? And I think it's a way that we make sense of our world. I think it's a way we make use of our world. I think it's a way that we also can get out sometimes some emotions, some feelings that could be destructive to us. And being creative can be a way to get those things out so that they are not destructive to us anymore. You make something instead of being angry. You make something instead of acting out. You use your negative experiences to make something that helps to get rid of and express whatever. Not quite close. It's close to the size. Let's pull some of this off. It helps to express in a more positive way, also in a more productive way. I always hesitate to use the word productive, because we've become a culture obsessed with productivity. And sometimes I think productive can be kind of a dangerous word because of how people might construe it. That it means always something beautiful or useful, or that will make money. All of that. And that's necessary. Money is necessary. Making money is necessary. Support your local artists. Support your local artists. Because if you're existing in poverty, it's really hard to, not impossible by any means, but really hard to create beauty, because it can be hard to see it. And take the time. I mean, there's a lot of taking the time to create is unfortunately has become it is not, but it has been made a luxury. um I don't want to say that it is a luxury because it's not. I think it's very necessary for humanity. um might be one of our, one of the issues that we sometimes face, and why we have a hard time with peace is lack of making things, whether that be a piece of pottery, or a painting, or something written, or a collage, or a mosaic, or there can be a short story, whatever it happens to be. But we don't create to exercise the negativity. Ah, darn it. Drat. Okay. Concentration. There is a level of concentration necessary for this that I'm going to start screwing up if I'm not careful, but that's okay. Okay, so what we're working on here is the monster body. Monster body. And I can't say I'm in this particular creation right here expressing anything terribly profound about the human condition. It's just a monster. And not all art has to express something profound about the human condition. It can, or the condition of life, or whatever. It can just be fun. It can make people laugh, which is super powerful. It can bring joy. That is about as powerful as it gets, frankly, in these days. I think these little dudes can make you laugh. And you'll see what I mean here in just a moment. I'm going to put this wad, there we go, of clay in plastic so it maintains some usefulness. There we go. Okie dokie. So, first things first, we got to close this up. Isn't it wild when you think about the fact that humans figured out how to create clay vessels, paintings, before before there's anything that we recognize as language, as written language, I'm sorry. Um, and the pieces aren't just functional, they are also beautiful. I mean, you could have made things just to be functional. Carry water, hold stuff, but they're not. They're also made to be expressive, to be beautiful. Um, because we do enjoy beauty, and that can be very different per person, and that's cool. That's even better. I think that's a really cool thing that being creative and doing art and all of that kind of stuff teaches you, is that there's no one beauty, there's no one anything. um, the the diversity, the difference, the whoa, you did that this way, I do it this way. That's really cool. We can learn from each other, appreciate each other. Um, that's really the power of creativity, is that it's better when you open yourself to lots of perspectives and challenge yourself and try different things and fail miserably at them. Yo. and then keep practicing so that you can, in fact, get better. Because that's just how it works. Stop traveling with me. Not you. Talking to the pillowcase. Stop it. Should have the weights on the corners. I do actually have weights that I put on the corners, but I'm not doing that right now. Okay. Filling in the seam. Filling in the seam. This is a little disturbing. So I have a scoliosis and got the whole rod surgery when I was a 15-year-old. And there's something about closing up this that really reminds me of the seam that ran down my back for my spinal cord. And when I got out of the hospital, it had these little tabs over it, Band-Aids that were an inside too that dissolved. So they didn't, of course, have to take out the stitches. They just dissolved. But there was, when I would lean over, you could feel them pull, and the little gapping right there actually reminds me of what my back would do whenever, really disturbing, when I would lean over right after I got the surgery, which the doctor would tell you you're not supposed to do for that exact reason. I'm closing up the seam on the inside now. Oh, I gotta go down in there. I'm going down. There we go. Paintbrush. It's a little warm up here. I turned the air conditioning down because it was nice for several days. We do have air conditioning in the shop, in the studio, I should say. But now it is, I have to admit, a little on the warm side. And I'm not necessarily loving it. I will turn that up. Next Monday, not this Monday, which is the 10th, next Monday is the 17th of August, 2026. Hey, you could be watching this video anytime, so should be specific as possible. Will be the first of the studio Curious Mondays also, and that is when you can stop in. And that hours are on the website, serendipitysellers.com. But you can stop in and check out the studio during those open hours and just kind of see what's what, see what being worked on. It'll probably just be me up here, unless there's somebody else renting some time or coming up. But it'll probably just be me. And you can come up. I'm turning up the air conditioning a little. It's warm up here. And just pop in. And if you, like I said, if you wanted to see the space, if you wanted to get an idea of the kind of things being worked on, see any of the projects, Mondays, and it's again later in the afternoon. Hours are at serendipitysellers.com on the website. It's right up at the top of the website. You're welcome to just swing in on that day, because I know sometimes, I mean, you can always call. You can always email at hello@serendipitysellers.com and ask questions. But sometimes it's nice to talk to somebody, I know, and maybe you want to see the space and see where this is. So I just figured it would be nicer. Let me stop talking and keep working so this doesn't dry up on me. But I just thought it would be nicer to have like some standing hours that people could just come in and say hi if they wanted to. So that's that. And if you want to check, you can always check the website to make sure that we're around that Monday. But right now, I don't think I have any Mondays is not in the studio for Curious Mondays. So, but if I can get anxious about stuff like that, surprise, anxiety, about stuff. So if you're like that and you're like, oh God, is this a good day or is this not a good day? Is this really one of the Mondays? You can, yes, the answer is yes, it probably is. But you can always check the website and make sure, and then feel really good about it because that's who I am. I can be a nervous Nelly about stuff like that. So I get it. Okay, so what we're doing now is the head and the ears. This is this fun little head. We're gonna pinch those pieces together. And you can make a lot of choices at this point about if you want the head to be shaped a different way or anything like that. But I've kind of got my little thing going on here. Get rid of that seam. Get rid of the seam. Weird, I'm playing royalty-free music in the background. Okay, not great. But this particular one that's really low that I'm not even sure you can hear sounds a lot like one of the ringtones on my phone, which is a little weird. All right, so these are the ears. So we pinchy pinch, pinchy pinchy. These guys kind of remind me. I didn't realize it until I'd made like 3 of them, and I went, oh, they remind me of Shrek a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, they're very Shrekish. They're not Shrek, but they're very Shrekish. Which is cool. I got no problems with that. I got no problems with that. It's a very successful franchise. But again, this is not. It just kind of the ears kind of remind me. You know, he's got those little things on his head, little um, antenna kind of, or maybe they are ears. I don't know. Uh, but that's what these remind me of. A little extra scoring, so we got some good sticking. Not that this clay doesn't stick really well. Adhere really nicely on its own. I like this clay a lot. See, I'll keep talking. I'll just get off subject. What are we talking about? Creativity. Why do we create? And I don't have an answer. Like, I didn't make that a discussion topic because I have an answer. It's just something to talk about. Um, and why do you create? I would love to hear. I know that if I don't, because I've certainly spent some time in the workforce being so overwhelmed by workplace politics and just the 9 to 5, but I don't think I ever just worked a 9 to 5. It was always considerably more than that. And I like getting to work earlier than 9. But you know, just your workday kind of thing, you can easily get too so caught up in all of that and so overwhelmed. It's really not caught up, it's overwhelmed. Your whole nervous system, particularly if it's not a good workplace. But even if it is, it can get overwhelming with work. Just trying to make sure that you're, again, making enough money to support your family or yourself. and I get that. And I don't have perfect answers to that. Um, you know, I would have a conversation right here with the employers, with the teachers, with the leaders of create systems that allow time for downtime and creativity and even boredom, because amazing things happen from boredom. Amazing things happen from boredom. Some of the best things of oh wait, I never even thought of that. It's when the mind has that time to grow. I mean, really, it is to grow, but to grow new ideas in and new connections with old ideas and old understandings. But it's you have to have that downtime for that to happen. And so that would be, I think the people who watch this who are like, oh yeah, I'm living in that system and I find it hard to create, and I need more support, or I need that in my life. How do I do that? I want to have a talk real quick with the leaders of all fields and say, you're the ones who do that. You're the ones who help. You're the ones who give permission. You're the ones um, who support creativity, not just in lip service and, oh, we want it, but then we're never going to give anybody time for it. And we're actually going to be super punitive when somebody makes a mistake. Um, you guys got to do this. People who are just trying to survive day to day and working, I'm not going to say they're not in a position. We're not in a position to do anything because we are, with our voices, with our votes, with our, with who we are. But dog, that's why you're a leader. That's why you're a leader, is because you have to do this stuff. And not just in some meaningless lip service, but actually put some skin in the game, put some revenue in the game. Uh, there are so many studies that show that people who work less hours, who get more breaks, who get more vacations, who have more free time and more ability to create, are also, by the way, better and more productive employees and workers. And the only reason to not support a system that supports employees and supports workers is greed, corporate greed. That you want the second house, the third house, the yacht, the plane, the first class every time you fly. It's greed. So I guess my thing here, let me carve my monster and shut my mouth, is that it is up to leaders to support this system. It is not up to people who are just trying to survive within a jacked up system that loves profits over people. Though it is not up to those people. I mean, it needs to be. We all have to band together. We have to, but uh, but hey, leaders, lead would be my. That's my 2 cents. There we go. That got. Oh, let's make a monster. So what I'm doing right now is cutting out its eyes, which sounds really terrible, doesn't it? Man, that sounds rough. I'm cutting out its eyes. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. That's one eye. Here, turn it so you can see it. Ta-da! That's two eye. Now the question is, do I want a cutout nose or do I want a popped on nose? I think I want a popped on. Do I want a popped on nose? I don't know. You got options. Let's go full jack-o'-lantern style with this bad boy. So we've got that. Do we want a jack-o'-lantern nose? Kind of like, I have one that I have a popped on nose. Let me show you what I mean by popped on or cut out. And then some don't have noses at all. So very carefully, so I don't break them, because they are still drying, really. So there's one, and he's got a cut out nose, as you can see. And then I also cut out the back so a tea light can go in them. And then this is a little guy that's got a popped on nose, and you see what I mean? He's just got a little nose that's been put on there. He's so cute. So I've got to decide which kind of nose I want to do on this dude. Very carefully put these back. Very careful. You worry me in that one spot, man. I'm gonna hit on this. There we go. You can stay right there. It's about time to glaze these. Okay, here we go. Back at him. Back at him. So let us see. Let us create a nose. We'll cut in the nose. I'm gonna go full jack-o'-lantern here. Oh dear. The number of times I say oh dear or oops in the studio, wow. Ta-da. Very jack-o'-lantern-y. All right, I need to turn him so I get a better view of the mouth, because the mouth takes a little bit more. So he's going to turn towards me a little bit more. Here we go. There we go. Now you can see him too. So, the mouth. I'm not worried about cutting all the way through on this first. This is more just to get a trace. Toothy. Okay. And that should work. Now, I'll cut it all the way through. Ooh. Help if I follow the lines that are already there. I say oops. I say. There's something incredibly, speaking of creativity, back to it again. Something very fulfilling about making something with your hands. I think that's one of many reasons I enjoy pottery so much. But there's just something incredibly fulfilling about starting with a lump of raw clay and ending with a figure of some kind, whether that be something that's totally functional and useful, or a little more fun and quirky. You can be functional and useful and fun and quirky at the same time, by the way. This kind of is, because it's going to be a light. So, tea light holder. But maybe next, after this, we'll do a monster mug. I kind of wanted to make a monster mug. I was thinking about that last night. So let's make a mini monster. And then when we get this guy put aside to dry, maybe I'll do a mug. Okay. So we'll let that. I've gotten some smoothing. What I'm going to do now is let it dry just a little bit. I mean, that part of it. There we go. All right. So now the legs. Tubular. Put that in the plastic bag. Now let's do some legs. Because this dude's going to be standing. So we got a leg and a leg. Oops. So I'm going to make a drinking game of how many times I say oops. Don't, because that would be way too much drinking. That would be way too much. Slicey. Oh, yeah. Duh. Got a slice in here, too. Skipping a step. I got a little bit funky, but I'll fix it. I'll never really fold. Fix it to fold. All right. So that's our legs, which I know seems strange, perhaps. What we're going to do now, first, let's make sure the plastic bag's at a good level. Let's fold these in and connect up. Oh, tree trunk legs. Gonna do the same on this one. And to make sure that leg's on the ground, or it's just gonna rip off the one I just did. Hey, are you cut all the way through? There we go. That would be nice if you would bend. It would be super cool if you would bend. Okay, there we go. Close that seam. Close that seam. Okay, stand them up. Now this is going, stop it. All right, pulling that out the front. It's all a little hilarious, really. It's okay. I feel like a 12-year-old. There we go. And this can pull off. It sticks on. Now we start sticking all of this stuff back together really nicely, making sure the seams filled in. Make sure all of this stuff is nicely smoothed out. All the seams are smoothed over and joined. Jumping back to the back to do the same. Working on that booty. Sticky. This was the little bit that I just removed. And it's filling in those holes. A little hole right there that we're going to fill in. There we go. Probably could have kept working it to fill it in, but meh. We're going to do it this way. All right. Legs. He has legs. It has legs. Ta-da. Yes. That's what we want. No fall over. All right. You know what? Rather than pull that out, I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to do the arms. So we just want a way to put a light, a tea light. Definitely recommend the battery operated ones over the flame ones, because the flame ones will probably burn the inside of this. It's kind of small. I mean, it's going to have been in a well over 2,000 degree kiln, so not a biggie, but still, it'll smell weird and melt your candles funny and just not a good look. Ta-da! Not a good look. Tea light. I hear Jesse downstairs, which means dogs might hear him here in a minute, which means pandemonium. Oh, pandemonium. Yo. Ladybug. You have dogs, you're welcome. Glad I could help with their entertainment. Hope. Ladybug. All right, I'm going to mute you for just a second. I'm muting. All right, trying to tell them that it's a giant nothing burger and that they need to be calm, but we'll see if that works. Ladybug, you are a creature from the Black Lagoon. Ladybug, I love you. You want to say hi to everybody? Come up here and say hi. Watch Ladybug from the Georgian Bug Books. What do you think? I'm not interested. This sucks. I love you. Now go do something else. No, don't woof. Don't do it. So I'm making arms. I'm just using what came out of the back to make 2 arms. Oh my god. Ladybug. Chihuahua barks, man. swear they've gotten more high pitched since she hung out with one of her friends in West Virginia. Moon, he's got a really high pitched bark. And I swear hers wasn't that high pitched, but all of a sudden, after spending a while with him, little Miss Ladybug's got this high pitched bark that I don't ever remember her having. I'm not pleased with that. Oh my god. Listen, evil one. Okay. Those are really long arms. It's okay. Do. So I'm gonna put this here and this here. So let's get it. I'm gonna face it towards me a little bit more again. Do a little score. Right underneath the little ear things, way up here. The shoulders are way up here. Way up there. Why? Why not? Now you're just talking. You're just talking to talk. Just talking to talk. Barking to bark. That's all. Pardon me. Barking to bark. Ladybug, now you are officially the Chihuahua who cried wolf. I say what I want. I need this. Getting the plastic bag in the right place in there so that it'll dry nicely. Plastic. Now is also where you can decide if you're going to. Oh wait, there's more decisions, but like give it hair or anything that you can do, hair, eyelashes, all that kind of stuff. But I do always like to give these guys toes, little toes. So let's do some toes. Gotta have your big toe. Big toes help with balance. Big toe. Don't you know? Okay. And I usually only do 3 toes on these guys. Sometimes I do 4, but usually it's only 3. I can trying to think if can't really see from here, but if any of the ones on the shelf have 4. I just think these guys are super cute. I don't know. They're fun yard art. Um, or shelf art. But they are yard art. I mean, they are perfectly viable to stand outside. You can always give them a little bit more longevity by poking some holes. I mean, they've already got the open feet, so water isn't going to gather there, so it'll go through. So that's good. So you're not going to worry about freezing. But if you wanted to give it even more longevity, you'd poke holes in the crotch here so that even more water could go through, and it won't if you leave it out in the winter, which really technically you shouldn't do, but I always do. I always do because I always forget. And that way it doesn't get frozen water in it and explode, or it is less likely to. Not to say that it's impossible. I'm going 4 after all that. I'm going 4. This guy would look better with 4. There we go. So very, very carefully, because this guy is still really wet. I'm picking him up and I'm pressing down on these to make sure that they're pressed in thoroughly. And then I'm doing a little flattening here, so they look a little more toe-like. Oh, I've still got a little seam right there. Darn it, I got all that. Why are you still there? Okay. All right, last things you can do. I mean, you can do lots of things. You can do fur all over them. So I mean, that could take hours, but certainly something you can do, and it would look very cute and be a really cool texture. Do know that if you choose to do fur, hours is an exaggeration. It's going to take a hot minute for that kind of texture, but it'll look really cool, and I'm here to help with that. I don't tend to do that though. I tend to do more like I'm doing this little worm here. But this little worm is a little curl, a little bit of hair, just a little extra something visual interest. But yeah, we'll do basically as many of these as you can make from 5 pounds of clay in the workshop. And you can make more than one of these for sure. This is only about not even 2 pounds. I don't think 2.5, somewhere in there. So this is not that much. I don't have the scales up here. I had to take them down for beer making. We were making beer, and I needed the scales. I need to get another pair of scales. but everything costs money. Um, but yeah. All right. Let's see if there's anything. I think I'll just let him chill as is. And then I'll show you a couple of other little things you can do. Oh, wait, what is this? I don't want that there. Little line. I don't want that little line. So this is who we made. That is our mini monster. He's got the plastic bag in him right now, which will help him dry with some stability. And then we'll take it out and get him glazed up and in the kiln, because I do single firing usually. So it all happens in one load. This is definitely a piece that is breakable, but it's also a piece that makes him kind of useful and cool because you could put something through this. But you do always have to think about, like, I've got a mug, actually two things that I made that are dragons, and the necks are similar to this right here, and they broke. That was totally user error. That was me being a little neglectful in how I moved at least one of them, but still something you need to think about sometimes. Let me do one quick check down here. Here we go. This is the nice thing, is you can reach inside, and I want to smooth out. It is essentially the crotch area. That's where a candle would sit. And so I do want to try to make this, even though, again, I thoroughly recommend the battery operated, not the flame ones, just because this is a smaller figure. And the flame ones are going to touch the inside. And it'll make your candle not last as long, and it'll stink. But this will give it a nice flat surface to sit on. I've got my hand in the back, just smoothing things down here. And I'm just working purely by feel. I can't see anything. I'm just kind of looking off in the distance. Okay, we'll go with that. I can correct that a little bit more after it dries, but I'm going to go put this dude on the shelf. So here we go. To the shelf. It's a monster on this shelf. I like it. Okay. Man, there are some nice pieces over here. I'm looking at what we've made in the last pottery workshop up here, which is the bowl making one. And this stuff is about ready to be fired for whenever we glaze it. But it looks so good. It looks so good. The work is so good. I'm really impressed. So I can't wait until it's all ready to decorate and everything. All right. This is what was left over. And I've got most of a 25-pound bag right next to me, but this is what was left over from what we started with. So let's roll this out and do one more little project with it. I said a monster mug, but I don't know if that's going to be quite the thing to do with this or not. I was thinking about just another minier monster, because I have some really small guys over there too. Where is it? There we go. Thank you. I'll show you what I mean by a minier monster. I did one of these the other day, and this is one of those things that during the workshops, like, you finish one and you move on and build another one. This is definitely one of the other options that you have for later versions. I do all kinds of stuff with my scraps, but I'll show you a mini monster, micro monster. Sorry about that. Do 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 do. Keep smacking you. All right, that'll work. That'll do, pig. Okay, so now I just want to do a big rectangle of some sort here. Let's do, how big do I want? Let's do you want to do it that way? Maybe I'll do it this way. I kind of like that. Let's do it this way. Okay. A rectangle of sorts. Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Thank you. Oh, mini monster. Oh, mini monster. Why am I not weighting this down? Score it, score it, score it, score it, score it. Oh, micro monster. Micro monster. Begin with a tube. Tubular. Tube, tube, tube. I can imagine you could easily make like napkin holders or anything like this. My napkin holders was the first thing I went to. So I could see just slicing this, being like, doop, doop, doop. There's some of my napkin holders. Do I use napkin holders? Nope. I imagine you all cannot hear the royalty-free music that is playing because I have it turned down so low at this point. It's really crappy. Whatever is happening right now is not good. Not good. But hey, thank you for free. Beggars can't be choosers, but we'll try anyway. And you could join all of this together. So you have a little rounded head or flat head. I have one that I made a long time ago where I took all of this and built there's a little tray up here on his head, which is cute too. So those are all things you can do. Oh, mini monster. Oh, mini monster. One thing I think I've noticed that people at first struggle with the most and then I think enjoy the most, or are freed by in the art classes, pottery and painting and writing, um, that I teach, is that so much is, well, what do you want to do? What's your choice? I get in the first couple of classes, I get asked a lot about, like, what do you do next? Well, what's the technique? And once we get past a few basic techniques things, so much of being creative is, well, what do you think? It's your choice now. What do you want it to look like? You can certainly follow exactly what I'm doing, but so much of it is, how do you want the eyes shaped? How do you want the body to look? How do and this is in reference to this. What is done for you? What is what design do you want? Um and so it's not really about, there's a way that you do things. Yeah, there are techniques to it, but then so much of it becomes your own discernment and your own choices and your own tastes, your own intuition, your gut, and what it's telling you to do. And that can be, in the first couple of classes, at least, or first class, if that's not something that you've been asked to do regularly, and unfortunately, we are not asked to do that real regularly, which is crazy. But when I think about it, as adults and even as kids in the school system, it's a lot of following procedures and letting the process decide for you instead of, well, what do you want? How do you want this to look? What's done in your opinion? What are your thoughts on this? And how do you want this form to function? And that is really cool and incredibly freeing. But I think when you are first approached with it after sometimes decades of being trained to think in a different way, it can be kind of terrifying at first. Um, to not just be told how to do things, and to really be, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your opinions? Again, what does your gut say? What do you want from this? It isn't about what I could do or what I would build, but what, and I'll certainly give idea. I mean, I'm always, not to say ever that I'm not there to help and cultivate and do all of that, but so much of it really is about you and your wants. Um, which again, I think is a reason to be creative, particularly, with your hands, with your mind, as much as possible, is to kind of flex that muscle and use it, and have that discernment and make those choices, and then decide when it works for you, and then you also sometimes find that you didn't like the decision, and that is also just part of artistic growth. That's just part of being creative, is you're like, "Oh, wow, that didn't it's not quite what I was going for, but okay, I'll do that different next time." Maybe you can correct it in that moment or change it, but that's also okay, and I think it's being okay with that also, with some failure and things not going your way all the time and the materials just misbehaving completely, and sometimes your mind not being in it and not being able to do what you wanted to. Creating is a powerful teaching tool. It's a powerful learning tool. This guy's kind of small, so he's going to get a popped on nose. Popped on. Less space on his body to actually cut a hole. But I do like it when he's got a little nose. I do have some over there that don't have noses, and that's okay too. I'm not here to tell a monster how to live his life, its life. Smack, 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 smack. All right. Trying not to make that cave in on itself while at the same time pressing that little nose down. Nice. Okay. Now we'll do the legs. Because we do legs in this guy. He could just be a ghost, so you could stop him here and he's kind of ghosty. And then he just sits down on the tea candle or tea light and lights up. So totally an option at this point. You could always just be like, okay, that's it. But I am making a mini monster. Micro monster. Actually, I have a micro over there. He is tiny. This one is still just mini. I have one that puts this guy to shame. To shame, I say. Slice. 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 Oh, his right legs are going to be bigger than the left legs, I do believe. Sorry. There we go. Bring it down. Bring it down. Bring it down. Doing it again. Sorry, guys. Get it up close to my face. All right. This one, I don't have the plastic in because he's so small. I can actually see what I'm doing. Oops. Oh, I just realized something I forgot to do in the other one. Maybe we'll fix him in just a second. Get him off the shelf. The only issue with this guy, of course, is that he is so small. I don't actually think a tea light would fit inside of him. It would sit right here. Do I have one up here? I don't think I do. I need to get that so that I can check all of these openings and everything, but that's the only issue I see with this bad boy. Probably can't actually get a tea light into him. That's not to say you couldn't put fairy lights, like string lights or something in there, battery operated. So there's lots of different ways you can do this, but just his size makes him a little questionable for that use. That's all. Toes. Almost forgot that on the other one. Oh, darn it. I hit his ear. There we go. Fixie, 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 fixie. There we go. Not insurmountable. So if you're playing the oops drinking game, I think we're at least 3. I think actually substantially more than that. Get off me. I'm so clumsy. So clumsy. Figure out which finger is going to work the best in there to press against my own pressure. It's got fingernails. Fingernails can be problems. Hercules, Hercules. My little man. Now, thinking that those are actually going to stay unbroken, disconnected like that. Crazy talk. So, what we're going to do is join them up because they're at least a little more likely to not break off. Little Hercules. Little Hercules. Or he could be plugging his ears, I guess. Oh, I should do a speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil lineup of these. That would be sweet. I like it. Okay, and then what did I forget on the other one that I need to go do? The butt. They got butts. Because it's cute. They all got little butts. Because somehow it makes it cuter. So I make them all have little cheeks. That's what I forgot. So bam, 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 bam. Let's tuck that in a little bit so you don't want to fall over. Tuck, tuck here, tuck, tuck there. So there's a little mini guy. Let me snag the one I just made. He's chilling over here. Chilling, 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 chilling. Not ideal to move once placed, but There we go. Little crack attack. That's all I wanted. So now you've got your two guys. Ooh, he's still very soft. Your minis. Fun stuff. I'm gonna get him back on the shelf. Carry all of these one at a time. They need lots of support. You're cute, dude. You're cute. And of course, you could always attach a little tail to this guy if you wanted to, or give him little, he could have little horns. Those would actually be really cute. Let's, you know what? Hang on. Nice if I didn't damage him on making this by knocking him over or some such. Some such. Told you at some point I'd stop talking about whatever my topic was because I was going to get into making. But it was about creativity and why did we create? And I think it's because it's part of what we are. And, you know, sometimes I wonder if part of what's wrong with the world today, that's broad, is that we, you know, we don't connect with our creative selves enough and forget that that's what we are. And instead, we're kind of stuck in a consumer mindset that really, in a lot of cases, is destroying small local arts. Which is pretty terrifying when you think about it. And it's, I think we're turning our back on some of the things that make us what we are and that have given us a evolutionary advantage. All really for consumerism. Because you could make so many more of these with a machine out of plastic so much faster and they'd be more quote unquote perfect. And, you know, be able to sell them for cheaper as well. And that's sometimes what people are after these days or think they're after. But really, this, being able to do this, not this specifically, but to make things, to create things, is where the real power in being human is. The real beauty in being human. And I'd rather have something that somebody made than was mass produced. But goodness knows I've fallen into that trap as well. Man, it's so cheap. You can get it for so much less. Ta-da! There we go. I gave him some little horns. So there you go, mini monster. I'll show you the true micro monster because I said this one. I kept joking it was micro, but not micro because this is the micro that I made yesterday. So as you can see, super micro. He doesn't even have a hole in his back because what would you put in there? He's just a little monster. Let's get this guy on a shelf. I'm running out of shelf space, which is super cool. It's my kind of problem to have. Got student work. I got my work. Um, that's freaking awesome. That's what it is. Love it. Okay, so I've got a little scrappy dappies here that are left over, and they could certainly just get mushed back in with other stuff or used later. But sometimes when I have this stuff left over, I'll show you one of the things I really like to do that's seasonal, or I call it a day and get it, not a day, but I call it and get a snack. I love Halloween. I love October. I love spooky season. Um, I love fall in general. Like it doesn't even have to be just Halloweeny. I love fall. I like the weather. I like the temperature change. I like the general decor. It's cool. So I say all of that because I'm going to make a pumpkin. Quick pumpkin. Pinch pumpkin. Pinch pumpkin. But these are cool. I like these guys. These are nice little decoration items. And it's a nice thing to kind of do with your hands once you're done with your main work. Sometimes it's nice to just have something small and easy and fun. And a pinch pumpkin is all of those things. I wish I'd pinched off a little bit of this because I just got an idea for some additions and I want it on here. But I'll just pinch some. Oh, never mind. I had some left over. Oh, okay. Oh, pinch pumpkin. Oh, pinch pumpkin. Okay. So just a little silly pumpkin with little glaze those separate so it looks like a twig and leaves sticking off of it. Leave a little bit more. There we go. Yeah. Fun, easy, and a nice little thing to do with your leftover stuff from the project. And you could always cut little things in it, little faces, and turn this. You could easily turn something like this into a jack-o'-lantern tea light holder or something like that. But I just like little pumpkins because then you can let them hang out of season. Not that you can't let things hang out of season if you want to anyway. Not policing anybody's decor. Okay. We'll call that our little finished pumpkin. Little. So that was 2 mini monsters and a tiny little pumpkin. And I'll show you, I did, actually, before I move on and call it a day, I'll show you, I did some other little mini pumpkins. So this is one from, it's mostly dry, but it just needs to get glazed. And then it's just a cute little pumpkin, simple little pumpkin. But easy thing to do with, like I said, some leftovers, and you can cut jack-o'-lantern shapes and stuff into them pretty easily as well. So, all right. So I think that's pretty good for today. 2 mini monsters and a pumpkin. And I will see you hopefully, maybe this Friday. If you'd like to join me at 11 on Fridays, I do another making session where I'll be working on something, whatever it is that needs to be worked on up here in the studio. So that'll be Friday at 11, and then next Monday at 11, another Making Monday, and we'll talk on a subject. And I'll also be making something else up here in the studio from beginning to end. And then, of course, Monday the 17th, later in the afternoon, is also when we have our first Curious Monday, which is whenever the studio is open for visitors who might like to come in and kind of check out what we're all about. And so that'll start on August 17th, 2026. And it's in the later afternoon, and you can look at the exact times. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I apologize, but it's at serendipitysellers.com, and you'll see it there, as well as all the other classes and events that are going on up here at the studio above the clouds. Hope to see you online, and I would love to as well see you in person for one of the many events that we've got going on up here. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday and have a great week, folks. I will talk to you later. Thanks. Ending the stream. Don't cross the streams.